You know, often I think back on life, and one of the things what comes to my mind is my mother, my eccentric mother. And I never forget one day when I went to visit her, because I used to visit her often in the old age pension home she was in. And she must have been 81 years of age at the time. And she's chuckling away. And my mother has never laughed outright. Never a full-blown laugh. It's always a chuckle. And then eventually she said, you know, I found out lately, she said, that you have to brush behind the teeth, not just the front. And I was so disgusted when I heard that. I just couldn't believe someone could be such an idiot not to even think that you've got to brush behind your teeth. Do you have to be told to brush behind your teeth? And I just gave her this look, this dirty look, you know, this look like this, like that. I didn't say a word. And of course she read my mind, you know, what an idiot, how can you be so stupid? And she stopped chuckling at that point. And she used to do some other mad things. I mean, when my father died, I was 7 years of age, and I think she slowly went around the bend a bit. And she used to be a cleaner, an office cleaner years ago. I mean, it's really interesting that cleaners, when they go into a building, they're trusted. I mean, they get into she's been to every bank there is in the city, all the top banks, and they allowed her to clean around the safe, the actual safe door. Can you imagine cleaning around the safe door? Only very trusted people are allowed near the safe, except for cleaners, of course. Anyway, she was a cleaner. So you'd think that later on, as she gets older, she would be a very good cleaner, but she wasn't. She became aware of dust, and because of her madness. And when I was to go to dust anything, she'd say, "Oh, let me do that," and she'd get the dust cloth, and then she would put it on her finger, basically, and so her finger's poking like that with a dust cloth there, and she'd wipe it slowly. She said, "You have to do it slowly now, because if you don't, you're going to make a lot of dust, and it's going to be very bad for your health." So I would have a damp dust cloth in my hand, which she wouldn't see. And as she walked on to the next piece of furniture, I'd quickly give it a quick wipe like that, and now it's dusted. One go, 1 second, but there she is, like that. This old woman. And again, you have to laugh at that. But also, she was quite snobbish. I think she must have, if there is such a thing as being born again, she must have been an upper class person in her previous life, because she used to get this snobbishness. Even though she was common as muck, her nose would go up, and suddenly she would get this sort of voice, posh voice almost, and say something. And I remember one day she said a certain word, and she said, "You see, I know these words." And I would be brutally honest to her, which I shouldn't really. I was brutally honest. I say, "Mum, everyone knows that word. It's an everyday word. It's nothing." And then I would say a word to her which she doesn't know, and say, "Well, do you know that word, what it means?" And of course she didn't know. And she would, just as I do her, she would give me the same look, this very quiet look, like, "How can you say such a thing?" Like that, not saying a word, just looking. My dear mother. But as I've always said, she loved me, and that was the main thing. When it comes to mothers, love. Yeah, so today's video is all about little things that I think about every day. And because, you know, our experiences shape our life. And I am what my experiences have made me. Unfortunately, some of those experiences have been pretty bad. And some of them, especially the ones in Thailand, were heaven on earth. Anyway, Trudeau, who's the head of parliament in Canada. He's a fairly young man in his 30s, maybe early 40s, I don't know. But nasty piece of work. Not only did he lie about the truckers who were striking for freedom, he was trying to say that they were striking for some other reason, trying to bring the country down. And he was saying that they were traitors and telling all sorts of terrible lies about the truckers. None of it true at all. Not anything. Man should be put up against the wall and shot. Anyway, this Trudeau, what he did, someone made a GoFundMe for the truckers so they could, because he was stealing their petrol, using the police to go and steal their petrol, and he blocked their bank cards, so they had no money because he blocked all their bank cards. Couldn't get any money out. And so a lot of money was made in GoFundMe to help the truckers in Canada. We're talking about thousands of people here, hard-working people who wanted freedom to come back to their country, where they could choose to wear a mask. If people want to wear a mask, they can wear a mask, but don't force us, and don't force us to have an injection. This has nothing to do with freedom. Anyway, he stole the money for the GoFundMe because he's in charge. You see, he can do anything he wants. He's a power unto himself. He took all that money. He stole the money that was given to the truckers by people, hard-working people, and he said he didn't give it back. No, he didn't give it back to the people. He said that money is now being given to other causes, other charities. As far as I know, though, if you complain and you demand your money back, don't ask, demand it back from this crook, this Trudeau, you'll get it back. But most people haven't asked, so ask for it back. The swine. That's what he is, a swine. You know, a lot of people who are trying to take over our world, try to take over our freedom, are using the ballot box to do it. They get voted in by their own kind, who want to take our freedom, change things drastically. And that's what's happening throughout the world, including Canada, England, France, Europe. It's happening everywhere. It's a devilish idea what they're doing, but it's doing it. They're doing it. They're taking over, not with battles, not with wars, but with lobbying and getting their own kind into high places so they can control the votes, control laws, basically, control the way we behave, basically, the way we think. And it will get worse. We've lost a lot of freedom at the moment, and I can't really go into it too much because I would lose my place on YouTube. But one's got to be careful. One is not in a free society anymore. I heard something say about that actually. And just a reminder, if you like my videos, please give me a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button. Thank you. Oh, by the way, I'm sure a lot of you have heard that 9/11, before the planes had crashed, the passengers knew what was going to happen, so they were all on their mobile phones phoning their loved ones. And they even interviewed loved ones on the TV at the time afterwards who admitted that they got phone calls from their loved ones on the plane just before the plane crashed and everyone died. Well, I want you to know now that didn't happen. In those days, not so much now because they work on a different system in planes. In those days, the plane is going so fast. I can't figure the name, but we'll call it aerial. The aerials couldn't pick up the phone before it could. It picks up the signal, but before they could orientate to that signal, it's moved on the plane because it's travelling so fast. So each aerial along the way hasn't got time to log in to the phone, basically. So yeah, it was impossible. No one ever made a phone call out of that plane, and no one therefore received a phone call. You see the lies that people say? Absolute nonsense. Now, it always amazes me how little people think of their life. A lot of certain religious people will die thinking that they're going straight to their heaven. And even if you're not religious, you might go into a war situation where you can be killed. Maybe you're a newspaper person and you put yourself in harm's way, end up dying. But people don't really understand how precious life is, how lucky you are to be born a human, because you could have been born any other creature out there. Now I'm going to give you, because the mathematicians have come up with the exact figure how lucky you really are. You've got one chance of becoming a human, being born a human, 1 in 140 trillion, not million, not billion, but trillion. 1 in 140 trillion to become a human. All the rest of that 140 trillion have become other life forms on this planet, and you become human. But what do? You tend to think, oh, I'm a human. I haven't been born one of those creatures over there, so I'm going to cause terrible harm and suffering to them just for fun. I'm going to shoot them as a hunter for fun. I'm going to eat their bodies and corpses of their children and babies and their mothers for fun. But what's going to happen in your next life? And the life after that? And what was you before you was born in this life? 1 in every 140 trillion. You're not going to be human again. Think about it. I'm quite serious. Think about it. Chances are you're not going to be human, so you better get the rest of the world to become vegans so that you won't get hurt by these people, and stop all the vivisection. It's not necessary. This is important to remember. We live in a world where intelligent people are not allowed to say the truth, so that stupid people will not be offended.